Welcome to the Metropolitan Fire Chiefs Association's Leadership Development Podcast series. This podcast is for Metro Chiefs by Metro Chiefs, engaging in conversations about issues that are relevant to members of our association. The series, however, can be very useful for current or aspiring chief officers in any size department in the U.S. or internationally. Today's topic is another one that's important to our peers all around the country, and that's the basics. That is Metro 101, Metro Chiefs 101. And so with us for the conversation on this topic is a retired chief and former Executive Secretary of the Metro, Chief Russ Sanders. Russ, it's great to have you with us. And also with us today, we have the current Executive Secretary of the Metro Chiefs, retired Fire Chief Otto Drozd. And just to give you a little bit of background about these rock stars that are here with me today, I will read you a little bit of their bio. You're like, why should we listen to these guys, right? And I'm about to tell you why. So regarding Chief Sanders from 1967 to 1995, Chief Sanders served in the Louisville, Kentucky Fire Department. His final 9 years as the chief of that department. From 95 to 2022, Russ served as the National Fire Protection Association's Executive Secretary for the IAFC NFPA Metro Chiefs Association. The NFPA is representative to the International Association of Fire Chiefs, the International Association of Firefighters, the National Fire Chiefs Council of the United Kingdom, the Institution of Fire Engineers, the Australasian, did I say it right? Because that was a tough one.
Yes,
Fire and Emergency Services. Thank you. Fire and Emergency Services Authorities Council, the Global Fire Service Leadership Alliance, and the International Technical Committee for the Prevention and Extinction of Fire, which is CTIF. Russ served 25 years as the president of the U.S. delegation to the CTIF, which is headquartered in Slovenia, and is also known as the International Fire and Rescue Services Association. Russ's background also includes a graduation from the University of Louisville with a Bachelor of Arts degree, a Master of Education degree, and a Master of Science degree. In addition, he's a graduate of the NFA's Executive Fire Officer Program, Go EFO, one of the best professional experiences of my career for sure, and Harvard University's Senior Executive in State and Local Government Program. In 2012, Russ was awarded the rank of Fellow in the Institution of Fire Engineers, FI Fire E, which is the highest grade offered by the institution. In 2018, Russ received the Everett E. Hudenberg, did I say that right, or Hudenberg, Fire Service Training Award from the International Fire Service Training Association. And also in 2018, you were inducted into the 2018 National Fire Heritage Center's Hall of Legends, Legacies, and Leaders. I love that one. That's the one I'm shooting for. In 2019, Russ received the Mason Langford Leadership Award. And this award is presented by the Congressional Fire Service Institute and recognizes exemplary leaders in public safety work for work to improve the delivery of fire and emergency services in the areas of prevention, mitigation, and response. And in 2021, the Metro Chiefs Association's Lifetime Achievement Award was renamed for you, which had to be in a great honor as the Russell E. Sanders Lifetime Achievement Award. And in 2000, you co-authored the first edition of Structural Firefighting Strategy and Tactics, and the second edition in 2008. So that is a heck of a resume, sir. And not to be outdone with us also, we have Chief Drozd. Chief Otto Drozd has over 35 years of experience in municipal and county governments, the legacy of innovation, service, and unwavering dedication to public safety. And we thank you for your current service as well, sir. Throughout his career, Chief Drozd has held significant leadership positions, including serving as the fire chief in 4 departments across Florida and Texas. Notably, he led the Hialeah Fire Department in Florida, the El Paso Fire Department in Texas, Orange County Fire Rescue Department in Florida, and the Seminole County Fire Department also in Florida. Currently, Chief Drozd is serving as the Executive Secretary for the Metropolitan Fire Chiefs Association, which, as we said before, is a section of the NFPA and the IAFC. His past leadership roles include serving as the President of the Metro Chiefs, Second Vice President of the IAFC, and the President of the Florida Chiefs Association. Some of the impacts Chief Drozd has include spearheading the development of NFPA 3000, which addresses the active shooter hostile event incident planning, and advocating for cancer and mental health awareness training for firefighters in Florida. His commitment is glaringly obvious, I think, but to advancing fire and emergency services, it extends globally, earning him recognition as a frequent presenter at the national and international conferences. He has a master's degree in public management from St. Thomas University, an executive certificate from prestigious institutions like Harvard University and the University of Texas at El Paso. Chief Drozd continues to inspire fire professionals worldwide, including this person sitting right here and talking, so thank you for that. His recent commitments include active participation in the World Fire Congress, Executive Steering Committee, United States Fire Administration, EMS Working Group, the First Net Health and Wellness Coalition, and the Fire Service Cancer Alliance, IFC committees, and as vice president of the CTIF. So we spent an hour talking about how awesome you guys are, and I'm super grateful to have both of you here with us to talk about this topic. And this is something that resonates with me because the Metro Chiefs was a bit of a mystery to me when I became the fire chief in Henrico County before coming to Aurora. It was had this sort of veil of secrecy, in a lot of ways, and I didn't really understand all that it had to offer, and have since found it to be one of the best networking opportunities, one of the best educational opportunities, and when you talk about giving back, a fantastic opportunity to give back to our peers across the country and internationally. And so I'm very, very grateful to have you both here, and I hope that I didn't miss anything as I went through those bios that's really important to you. And if I did, please chime in and share that now if you've got anything else that you'd like to add.
No, Alec, you said plenty, believe me.
I know, I know, and I only flubbed a couple lines, so I hope, but it really is honestly humbling to be here talking to both of you, and I appreciate your contributions that have moved not just the Metro Chiefs, but the fire service forward throughout those years. I think one of the best places to start when we talk about what the Metro is now is kind of where we came from. And so, Russ, you've been with the organization for quite a long time. And so when I think about the history and the evolution, the founding, and some of the key milestones and members of the organization, I think you're probably a fantastic person to listen to and to share information about. What is the Metro? Where did it come from?
Well, thank you, Alec. I really appreciate that warm introduction, and it's an honor to be here and have an opportunity to share with you and Otto and the full membership. Well, just as you said, I'll start with a little brief kind of overview of the history and talk about some of the key notable points during our history with the Metro, and then and look forward to hearing, because I'm not up to date on what's going on today as like I should be, so I'm really looking forward to hearing what Otto has to say as well. But the Metro Chiefs was founded in 1965 for the purpose of bringing fire service professionals together to address the challenges of large city departments that were becoming increasingly complex. Now, I came into the department in 1967, and so I know that's way, way, way before you two guys did. And I could really relate to this because in 1965, when the Metro met, it was at the conference in Miami, and it formed a committee. There was a committee in the beginning. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But the things that we take today for granted, like hazmat, for example, heavy urban rescue, high angle rescue, swift water rescue, underwater rescue, all these things. Back in 1967, when I came in, we were doing these, but we were doing a very poor job of them. We didn't have the equipment. We didn't have the training. Everything was on the job training. I mean, you learn, and that's why one thing, we lost so many firefighters back then, but it was such a need. And thankfully that some of the leaders at that time, John O'Hagan, the main leader, who was the chief commissioner in fire FDNY, he really initiated this along with 4 other chiefs. But it was so, I saw such changes because we were starting to educate ourselves and say, look, we came in and studied structural firefighting, and that's what our gear was for, that's what our equipment was for, and that's what we were trained to do. Everything else was just kind of hit and miss. So there was definitely a real important need in the Metro filled that need. Well, the Metro, as you mentioned, Alec, is you have to belong to both the International Association of Fire Chiefs and National Fire Protection Association. It's a section of both. And regular members of the fire chiefs of jurisdictions with a minimum staffing of 350 career paid firefighters. That's what you have to be a regular member of the Metro. Now, regular member is a chief just like you, Chief. You're over a department right now. You're an active chief. You've got 350 or more fully paid career firefighters, but there are a lot of other type of memberships as well. And also, I mentioned when the Metro first started, there probably wasn't a department involved with under 1,000 firefighters. I mean, I had 1,200 in Louisville. So places like Chicago and Los Angeles, and New York and Miami and all these other cities, they had almost, I would say there wasn't a single fire department involved that didn't have at least 1,000 firefighters. So when they came up with a 500 number, that was really to broaden out and pick up the mid-sized cities, if you will. And it's changed so many times over the years. It's had a combination of both population. So at one point, I remember you had to have 500,000 population and 500 firefighters, and then it changed to 400 and 400, and then we got rid of the population requirement altogether. Dave Paulison actually is the one who made the motion to do that at one of our conferences in Miami many years ago. But today it's 350. So, and that's always been an issue. We have some creative accounting going on when people want to become new members, and I'm sure Otto's dealing with that now. But it's important that we have a standard and we adhere to that standard, because the issues are common among these departments. But as you mentioned, Chief, they're also very important to smaller departments, and departments that maybe even have half or less than half the size of Metro departments. So we always make a concerted effort, and I know I say we now, Otto and the leadership of the Metro, to share everything we do through the Urban Fire Forum and any of our other meetings and stuff with the entire fire service at large, because it does benefit everyone. I mentioned the 350 for regular membership, and then there's senior members, of course. I'm a senior member. Otto's a senior member. Senior member is just a former regular member who's staying active and keep your dues up to date and all that. We have affiliate members, and the first affiliate member was CACFOA, and it stood for Chief and Assistant Chief Fire Officers Association of the UK. Then it became CFOA, Chief Fire Officer Association. Now it's National Firefighters Council. I guess, is that right, Otto? National Firefighters Council?
That's correct.
Okay, I wasn't sure if I had that one right or not, but that was just used as, I'm sorry?
National Fire Chiefs Council.
Yeah. And we have several other affiliate members and international membership. And I just wanted to touch on international membership because we created a category several years ago of 750,000 residents. So if you're a chief of a department with a population of 750,000 or greater, you are eligible to join the Metro as a international member. Now, it's just to explain this a little bit. You can be, if you're an international chief, you're the chief of Berlin and you want to join the Metro, you're certainly welcome to join the Metro as a regular Metro chief. You can then serve on the board of directors. You can run for election to president. You have full rights as everybody else. But a lot of the countries that are not as affluent as Canada and the United States and Western Europe, they would never be able to afford IFC membership, NFPA membership, Metro membership dues. I mean, a lot of these departments struggle to even have equipment or turnout gear. So we created a separate category for them that gives them the ability to participate, to work in the Metro, to attend all of our education programs. They cannot be a member of the board of directors or officers of the board, but they can pretty much interact in all other ways. And I mention this specifically because I want to just comment quickly on Robert Rocha, who was chief in Corpus Christi. When Robert came on the board, and I'm saying that's about 7 or 8 years ago now, he really lit a fire under us to get involved in recruitment, especially in Mexico and Latin America. And I know now with Otto in the lead with the executive secretary's position, they've done a fabulous job of really growing that membership and including departments that we wanted included for years, but just didn't really have the wherewithal to get it done. But the Metro is the preeminent section of the IFC and the NFPA. And we work closely with the International Association of Firefighters, very closely with the IFF on most all issues. Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs, United States Fire Administration, and many, many other national organizations, many that you mentioned when you were speaking in the opening there, Chief. And not just organizations and associations, but also just an example, our training and research partners, which are UL Fire Safety Research Institute and FM Global. So that kind of gives you a brief overview of the history. And I'd like to now just mention some notable events. And 1965, as I've mentioned, that's when the Metro was formed as a committee at the IFC convention in Miami by John Hagan, who was the first chair. John was the commissioner of FDNY. Then there's not really another notable event that I have until 1992, when the Metro secured a seat on the IFC board of directors. Now, in a few minutes, I'll explain why we have that big gap. And then on December the 5th, 1994, Mary Beth Michaels, who's still very active in the fire service with the IFC, she was promoted to chief of the Prince William County, Virginia Fire Department, becoming the first female Metro chief in the United States. So that was quite an event. Then 1995 and 96, Jeff Godfredson from Melbourne, Australia, was the first and to date only chief from outside North America to be elected as Metro chair, but now that's called Metro president. And Jeff also instituted the dues structure that is in place today. And when I was talking about the reason we have such a gap in notable events is because we have such a gap in written history. And the reason being, until we had the dues structure, and then the next event I'm going to talk about is a little bit about when the Metro became a section of the NFPA, and NFPA began funding the position. NFPA funds Otto's position today as Executive Secretary, and they did mine as well, and they funded Urban Fire Farm and many other functions of the Metro that we couldn't do without them. But when that happened, before that happened, I should say, when I was elected secretary of the board, we have a secretary today, whoever was a secretary was responsible for everything. And you just sent it when I think Luther Fincher replaced me. So I just sent him my paper files when I stepped down as secretary. And it just really wasn't a good situation. We had terrible record keeping and up until that point. And then, of course, when the executive secretary position was created and we had some funding and we had a dues structure, then we started doing a much better job of recording our history. So in 1996, the Metro became a section of NFPA, making it the first and only joint IFC and NFPA section. And this occurred during NFPA President General George Miller's tenure. 1996, I think you mentioned, Chief, I was appointed the first executive secretary, and I served until 2022. At that time, as you mentioned, I'd recently retired from the Louisville Fire Department. I was a former president of the Metro. So when I joined the Metro in 1986, that was upon my promotion to chief. I can tell you, I think back all the time still today, there's so many fond memories of such wonderful people that I worked with. So many people that were willing to teach me and let me learn from them. The old guard, and one in particular that I always remember dearly was Joe Redden. And Joe was the founding member, along with John. He was a founding member of the Metro. And Joe and I worked together, and we published a 2-part article titled Metro Chiefs, the Early Days, which captured much of the Metro early history. And I know Otto has that, and if not, if anybody wants to see it, I'm happy to send it as well. In 2001, the awards program was established, and the first award recipients were Luther Fincher from Charlotte, North Carolina. He was the Fire Chief of the Year. And Bill McCrawson, longtime chief in New Orleans, Louisiana, he won the Lifetime Achievement Award. Then 2004, Becky Denlinger from Cobb County, Georgia, was the first elected female chief elected as president of the Metro. And Becky has stayed active until it's still active today. 2006, a comprehensive strategic plan was adopted by the membership. Now, we had goals and objectives, of course, and plans prior to this, but not really a real integrated, sophisticated strategic plan like we developed at that time. And the person that was behind that was President Kelvin Cochran. He was also president of the Metro. Kelvin, I know many of you know him. He served as chief in Shreveport, Louisiana, Atlanta, Georgia, and the U.S. Fire Administrator. So we were really, by this point, we were really on sound footing with our structure of the Metro in terms of our planning process, our record keeping, and our involvement, not just casual involvement in international and other organizations, but very active involvement where we were part of the planning process, the decision-making process for a lot of these other organizations. In 2007, the membership voted to change the working title of Metro from section to association and to change the officer positions of chair and vice chair to president and vice president, which they are today. 2012, December 19th, 2012, our last founding member, Joe Redden, died. And again, he was, if any of people out there listening knew Joe, you'll know what a class individual he was, what a wonderful human being, a wonderful man, a wonderful leader. 2018, on May the 9th, the Metro Annual Conference in San Antonio, Texas, the Metro Conference in San Antonio, Texas, Orange County, Florida, chief. That's a little confusing because Otto was also chief I'm sorry, not El Paso. Sorry about that, Otto. I don't want to give you any more departments. But Otto Drozd III was elected for a second-year term as president. Now, this was the first time a Metro president had been elected to a second term, to more than one term, since Chief Norman Wells in Cincinnati in 1987. So it was quite a show of respect and confidence in Otto for the membership to do that. 2019, on June 13th, President Otto Drozd designated Dr. Lori Moore-Merrill as an honorary Metro chief. Lori is only the fourth person in the Metro's 54-year history to be designated with an honorary Metro chief. The others are General George Miller and Jim Shannon, both who were former NFP presidents and CEOs, and Ernest Mitchell, who was a former U.S. Fire Administrator. Then 2020, due to the corona pandemic, for the first time in our history, the Metro Annual Conference was canceled, and all business, including elections, awards, motions, and everything else was done electronically. 2001, the Metro Lifetime Achievement Award, as you mentioned, was reconstituted in my name, and that was one of the greatest honors of my entire life, because there's no group I respect more than the Metro Chiefs. They are just, to me, they are the top. They're the best there is, and that was a tremendous honor for me. As you might be able to see it, it's on the wall behind me. And then 2021, again, due to the pandemic, our in-person conference was again canceled and all the business was handled virtually. And also in 2021, Mary Camille, chief of the Mesa, Arizona Fire and Medical Department, was voted the first female Metro Chief of the Year in the Metro's 56-year history. So, and Mary is another one. She's just such a dynamic an awesome individual. I mean, I was just thrilled for her and still of today. She's still doing a wonderful job. And then in 2021, on December the 13th, Otto was hired by NFPA to become only the second Metro Executive Secretary, and I retired January 1st, 2022, and I couldn't be happier. So Otto, take it away.
That's fantastic. No, I love that. Russ, I never would have thought that you could run through all that in like 10 or 15 minutes. That was great. So Otto, we talked about in the meetings and stuff, as goes the Metro, so goes the fire service. And a lot of that comes from the influential people who have been part of the organization over the years. It doesn't come from policies and organizational structure and things like that. It comes from the members of the organization. And so just a question to you about, are there iconic people, not just for the Metro Chiefs, but for the fire service that you recall being part of this organization and influencing the nation's fire service, and in your case now even influencing the international fire service?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, when I entered the Metro in 2009 as a young fire chief, walking into that room, there was nothing but icons there. When you look at some of the chiefs that are in the room, and this is one of the things that I highlight, there's so many leaders that have been leading authors like Denny Compton, Brunacini in Phoenix, Dr. Lori Moore-Merrill, who's one of our few honorary members, has been such a great part of the Metro and really helping us turn the corner on the research side of it as well. And then, when we say, as goes the Metro, so goes the fire service, that's a well-earned phrase, because a lot of the chiefs that are in these major metropolitan organizations, it really goes back to what Russ said at the onset. Why was the Metro founded? It was founded to take on those most complex challenges that we're facing our urban areas. And that's happening as much today as it was back then. So you have a long legacy of leaders that have been at the very top of the fire service, meeting these challenges year in and year out. And it's no different today than it was back then. Some of the names have changed, but if you look at our metropolitan areas, they have the resources, they have the commitment, and they have the talent to really raise the level of discussion and the level of professionalism across our entire fire service. And that's really what, for me, the Metro has done and continues to do from when Russ came into it, and from our founding fathers to the folks that are coming in now, and the transition to a lot of the new folks that are as dedicated, as capacitated to make those changes as any of our forefathers.
It's incredibly humbling to walk into that room. I share that that sentiment. The quality of people, and Russ, you mentioned several people who broke some sort of glass ceiling, right, and just achieved things that nobody had previously achieved, and so many of them are part of this organization. And what's really cool is a lot of them remain involved in the Metro even today. So I could talk about the people in the organization for hours, and we don't have hours to spend doing that, but I truly appreciate the feedback that you've given on that. Let's get into a little more of the nuts and bolts if we can, and both of you feel free to weigh in. But when we talk about the structure and operations of the Metro Chiefs, a little less touchy-feely, right? But I think it's really important if you want to understand the organization that you're part of. Let's start with the organizational structure of the Metro Chiefs, and how is it structured, and what are the various key roles and responsibilities within the Metropolitan Fire Chiefs Association?
So I'll start off, and then Russ can correct me when I make a mistake, because he knows it better than anybody. But really, when we look at the structure of the Metro, and one of the benefits of it, and I kind of call it, the Metro is a safe place for our fire service leaders, because the only person that can be a member of the Metro is the chief of department, or the director or commissioner of those largest organizations. So when we get together at our conferences or at the Urban Fire Forum, we're really talking to our peers, and we're really able to kind of drop our guard and really bear down on the issues at hand. And that structure in of itself, I believe, is why the Metro has been so successful for so many years. Of course, we have our board of directors, and we have all the positions on the board, and we'll talk about how that's translated through the new strategic plan into a lot of the things that we're doing. But that structure really gives us the ability to meet those challenges, and then the wherewithal of the Metro is in the people that reside within those organizations. Now, one thing that a lot of people don't talk about is the Metro. When you look at that number of 350 career firefighters, and then of course we have our international members and some of the others, it's a relatively small group. When you look at the scope of the 25,000 fire departments or thereabouts that are within the U.S., the Metro, there's only about 150 eligible Metro departments. Only 150 out of 25,000. But here's why the Metro is so influential. In that 150 reside half of the career firefighters within the United States. And within that 150, we cover about 45% of the total US population. So when you talk about influence, that's why we have those long-lasting relationships with the IAFF, because we can make change. That's why during the Urban Fire Forum, we put together papers to address those most challenging issues of today, because we have the people within the Metro that can implement those changes. And then I really talk about the Metro as the bellwethers. And what I mean by that is once it's implemented within a Metro area, we have a responsibility to the rest of the fire service to bring that change to them as well. So you'll see that in the different areas of the United States, Canada, and throughout the world, when the Metros implement, then it spreads to the rest of the fire service. And we're really that helping hand to help the rest of the fire service as well.
It's awesome, Otto. Thank you for that. And Russ, I'll ask you this question. When you talk about the different board positions, I'm curious, if I'm brand new coming into the Metro, or even if I'm an eligible department and I'm interested in getting involved in the Metro, what does that process look like to become a member? And then let's say I'm there a couple of years and I want to serve in a different capacity or maybe serve on the board. Talk me through that, and maybe even touch on the roles of the various board positions and the demand that comes along with that service.
Well, certainly. First, I think Otto did a perfect job of describing that. That's exactly how it works, and at least in my experience as well. When you're a new chief in a Metro department, it's just, there's a process, there's an application process that you file. And again, Otto, please correct me, because I know some of this may have changed. I know that you guys are doing strategic planning and board officer positions that may be changing that I'm not aware of. But that if you meet the criteria and that's verified, then you are brought into the Metro. That's as simple as it is to join. Then when you come, you can actually, and we've had people, and I shouldn't say this because I was one of them, that came in, and I didn't run for election back then. This was 1986. The host chief nominated me because he was on the selection committee in Louisville when I was picked as the fire chief, and he liked me, and he said, "I'm not nominating Russ Sanders," and I got elected. It's not, doesn't happen like that today. But all you have to do is stand for election. The membership votes on you. All eligible members, both senior and regular members, have the opportunity to vote, and the positions are filled accordingly. Now, typically, the board members move through the chain of command. So the vice president would become the president, and the president becomes the past president, and so forth. And we have an alternate board member position, which is a little unusual. And according to the bylaws, that is a person who fills in for the board member in his or her absence. But in reality, what we've always allowed that person to do is participate fully in all the business decisions and such, unless that may have changed. But as far as that goes, you've got the pretty typical board members. You've got the alternate that I mentioned. You've got the regular board member. Then you've got the treasurer. You've got the secretary, and the president, and then immediate past president. The officers of the board being the president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. So like I say, it's pretty standard. And Otto, I'd throw it back to you. Has any of that changed, or?
No, that's exactly right. And the nice thing about the way that the board is structured is from the beginning of that commitment through the board seats, what happens is you go gaining a better understanding of the Metro, the processes. So that total commitment from alternate board member to immediate past president, you're looking at 7 years of development within the Metro. So while we have a 1-year president's term, that really doesn't tell the whole story, because they've been developing, learning from their predecessors, and then really building on those works that have happened before them. So it's that 7-year commitment that really lends itself to the continuity, even though you don't think of continuity in 1-year terms. There's significant continuity because of the movement through the board that Russ articulated.
And the board votes and they're participants in all of the major activities of the Metro, right? So they have a say in the direction of the Metro as a member of that board. Typically, the president will have some highlighted items on their agenda, but that whole board is integral in the business of the Metro. Is that correct?
That's right. In fact, the president, while he sets the agenda and runs the meetings, really it's consensus that runs the Metro, and everybody has a voice, and they work really well together. In fact, our current board, they work extremely well together, and are certainly, if you look at the leaders that are on the current board, starting from our president, Ernest Malone, to John Butler, just the past president of the IFC, Tricia Wolford, who will be the president. I think she's the first vice president of the IFC now and will become president. There's a lot of really engaged leaders within our general fire service that serve on the Metro board. And now the board really, when we look at members of the Metro and how they can get engaged, Russ started something to where we have almost 40 different committees when you look at IFC committees, NFPA technical committees, and all of the constituency groups that we engage with. There's about 40 different committees that the Metro is working on and really pushing the agenda of the fire service forward with the perspective of the Metro and those things that are important to serving our communities across the globe.
And I'd add to that, even the opportunity to work on groups like the NFPA Research Foundation, the UL Firefighter Safety Foundation. I mean, there's so many opportunities out there for a Metro chief to be actively involved in these committees, because they have numerous committees too, and believe me, they all want Metro participation, because that's where they really get the learning, the experience into their committees. So as Otto said, I didn't realize it was 40, but I know it's a long list, and even things like you wouldn't maybe think of. And Otto, correct me if this has changed, but Gina Sweck from Memphis, she was the CTIF, our representative of the CTIF Women in Fire Services. She's still filling that role?
She is. In fact, the CTIF has different commissions. And so Russ was integral to the Fire Prevention Commission. Gina sits on the Women in Fire Service Commission. And now Chief Fennessy sits on their Wildfire Commission. So we're getting more involved with our international partners as well. And that's a good topic. He brought up Robert Rocha and his outreach. So the Metro is not only involved with our traditional international partners, we have memorandums of understanding with OBA, which covers Central and South America, the Organization of American Firefighters, of course, the Mexican Fire Chiefs, and many, many others, that we continue to work on those issues that are common. And certainly a manifestation of that was the World Fire Congress that recently happened this past year, to where they brought together 52 countries to look at those challenges that are common across the globe now. Not only Metro challenges, but worldwide challenges, and Metro was integral to that effort as well.
So we've talked a lot about what we can do, how we can contribute, right? So how we can become a member and how we can contribute to the over 40 committees, to our international partners, and be involved in influencing the fire service. When we look at benefits of membership, we talk about too, not to be selfish, but kind of what's in it for me, right? Why should I become a member of this? What does it bring to me? And so an area that a lot of member-driven organizations is professional development. And so what opportunities does the Metropolitan Fire Chiefs offer its members when it comes to professional development or training programs or workshops and things of that nature?
Well, I'll
Yeah,
just
so that, go ahead, Russ, please.
No,
No, go ahead.
I was just going to mention that the first thing that popped in my mind, Alec, when you asked that question was when I was still the active chief in Louisville, and of course I was very active in the Metro. I served throughout the board and all the committees and all. And I found in every case what benefited Louisville, the city of Louisville, the taxpayers for sending me there was I came back with a lot more knowledge. I maybe contributed a little bit, but I brought back a whole lot. And the reason it made me laugh is I think of my staff. When I would come back, they go, "Oh no, he's back." Because I have a million great ideas now, and this is, well, we're going to try this. They're doing this in here. They're doing this over in South Africa. And it just tickled me to remember the look on their faces when I would come back from those. But Matt, I'm interested to hear what Otto has to say as well. But that's what came to my mind is I brought back so much. And, even the Metro now, especially with the international influence as well, it's just a world of information, a huge, unbelievable opportunity to sit and hear these people, what they're doing, how they're addressing these problems. We've got so much to learn. We've got a ton to share, but we've got a whole lot to learn too. And I mean, it was a gigantic benefit for me. And I think the city of Louisville, I mean, I looked at what we were able to do in terms of reducing fire deaths and property loss and all the things. And that is because I was able, in other members that participated in these committees, we were able to learn from others that have had the problems and found solutions. And we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. We just went with those same solutions. So that's what popped in my mind.
It's great.
When Russ was speaking about that, it's, when we look at professional development, a lot of times we think of those structured programs, and that's not really the structure of the Metro. It's more of the relationship building and the mentoring that happens within the Metro. And Russ is absolutely right. They used to dread when I would go to the Metro because you bring back 3 or 4 or 5 things that are relevant to your organization. But I'd like to delve into those 3 or 4 things that happen every year. They don't happen haphazardly. What happens is that the Metro builds their educational programs, which leads to that professional development that we talked about over the course of several years. For instance, this year at the Urban Fire Forum, we have 4 or 5 distinct topics. And those topics, a lot of times what happens is they'll be introduced at one Urban Fire Forum. For instance, this year, Chief Fennessy is going to talk about some of the challenges that he's had with electric battery storage systems, the ESSs, and the contamination from a fire that really rendered 40 sets of his gear useless for a time while they were trying to find the right decontamination method. So we're going through that transition from to lithium ion. So that's one of the things. It started with Chief Fennessy's problem. This year, we're going to be introducing some guidance on how to decontaminate or those things to consider when looking at lithium ion battery fires and the exposure to our gear. We're looking at the non-PFAS gear that's coming out and how do you implement that within your organizations. So these things happen over a course of several. Really involves our research partners as well. When we talk about formerly FM Global, they changed to FM, which I spoke to them today, and I still was calling them FM Global, but they're now FM. They dropped the global, and UL and the NFPA's Research Foundation. I can tell you from personal experience, one of the things that helped me is whenever I had a problem, Russ said, well, fill out a proposal to the Research Foundation, and for any unique problem within the fire service, they will put the top researchers on it. And so if you notice the transition in the fire service just over the last, I would say 10 to 15 years, we've really been putting back the science into fire science with our efforts on research. So one of the things that the board approved just a year ago was an agreement with the fire protection arm of IFSTA. And so what we have for the first time at this upcoming conference in Myrtle Beach and Horry County is we're going to be awarding the Early Career Research Award. And really that's to encourage the next group of those fire service researchers to engage with the Metro on that next group of challenges that's peeking its head around the corner. So when we talk about professional development, it's just not the products that we put out as a result of the research. It's the emulation of our mentors, which helped me greatly throughout my career, seeing how other metros are doing it. And then it's the emails that get sent out for information requests almost on a daily basis of chiefs having a unique problem and asking for assistance from the broader Metro community and getting those responses very quickly to unique challenges. I know I've asked those questions and I've gotten back very good answers that I've been able to give to my elected officials. And, they wonder where you get these answers so quickly. And the reason is because other people have had the same issues. And in the Metro, all we got to do is ask and we get the responses.
Exactly.
The Metro works through its annual conference. They work through the network itself, right, in questions and answers, and to try and facilitate problem solving or networking up among the members of the Metro Chief. So there's an active role that the organization plays in pulling together information, pulling together people to work together to solve problems. And so definitely an awesome conduit for that. And I know there's probably more work to do. I'm aware even this podcast is a result of some task group work that's going on now. So when we think about the future direction, and I'm sure Russ, you and Otto have talked about this during the transition, and I know the strategic plan has laid out some initiatives for us as an organization, but what are some of the big initiatives to try and enhance the Metro experience that are going on as we look forward toward the future?
So one of the things that the Metro board did, and so when you think of strategic plans, a lot of times they're over a 5-year period. And because of the transition of presidents within the Metro on a yearly basis, what we did in our strategic planning was really look at a shorter time horizon and really set some goals and objectives for current issues. And then that will transition from one president to the other. And then not this past FRI, but when we were in Kansas City, the Metro approved a task group formation or a task group policy. So what you see is a manifestation of that in the new strategic plan that has really set out the different areas of focus for the terms of our presidents over the next 2 years. And then this coming winter board meeting, which will be held in Orange County, California, we're going to refresh that strategic plan. But some of the offshoots of it are those task groups. So this podcast is a result of the leadership development task group that has many elements that we're going to look at. So for each one of those task groups, we've assigned chairs and board liaisons. Alec happens to be the chair of that one, along with Chuck Ryan from Tucson, and they're doing a great job with the podcasts. We're going to have some TED Talk initiatives, along with some other leadership development initiatives. And then we have an international outreach task group that's really going to seek to get members from across the globe. In fact, I'll be traveling to Malaysia with one of the members of that task group to really highlight what the Metro is doing and really reach out to some of the folks on that side of the world. Then we have the membership task group, which is being led by Chief Dave Downey. That's going to be taking a lot of the things that we've been doing in the Metro over the years and really quantifying it and really giving it as a member packet, so we can deliver that to them so that they know where to access information, how to get involved, how to really tap the resources of the Metro. So that's another one that's ongoing, as well as our communications task group and our business development task group. And what I expect at this next winter board meeting is we'll take those, and the task groups are meant to stand up and go down in some cases. So when we have an issue, we'll address the issue, and then the next issue will take its place. So I imagine there'll be a few more opportunities for our members to get involved as a result of our upcoming winter board meeting as well.
That's awesome. And if folks are listening to this podcast, they're members that aren't involved in any of those task groups or those committees or projects, they can shoot you an email if they're interested in volunteering their time and their energy to participate. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. So as we kind of wrap up here, I'm just curious, the vision, the long-term vision, like when you think about aspirational goals, we talk about vision statements, who we want to be, and it might be just out of reach a lot of times, but in your opinions, and Russ, I'll start with you, like your perfect Metropolitan Fire Chiefs Association in the future, what does that look like to you?
Well, I think it looks a lot like it does today, to be honest. I think, again, and Otto spoke about this, and I touched on it also. The Metro, maybe it's easier for me to say what I wouldn't want it to see it become, and that's another, hardware show or another. Everybody's got their booths out and peddling their wares and all that. Not that any of that's bad. That's great. We need to know what's available. We need to see that and participate. But again, it's the human interaction in the Metro that I think makes it so special, and it's been that way forever. I mean, it's become certainly way better structured and organized, and planning is so much better than it used to be. But that's the one thing I would never want to see it lose. I'd like to see that just continue to grow, is that human interaction. I mean, you become like family. I mean, these people are like family to you. This is not just somebody you go and you see them and shake your hand and leave. I mean, it's that kind of situation where you trust them. They'll go to bat for you. You can have an honest conversation in an open forum with these members and not have to worry that you're going to hear from your mayor next week or something like that. So I guess the best thing for me to say, because everything Otto said there was news to me. It was very interesting hearing what's going on now. Like I say, I didn't realize that we had we're doing these leadership podcasts until Alec contacted me. So, but like I say, I know I was very forceful, so to speak, in who would be a candidate for the Metro Executive Secretary position, because I knew what the people that I was promoting stood for, and they certainly got one of those that I was promoting in Otto. And that's, again, it's just, I would dread the thought of losing that and just becoming another, and I don't want to say an organization's name because that's their format and that's what they do. But I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. I mean, not just, let's don't have another, selling your wares and getting your booths out and all that kind of business. That's not what and I tell you, the sponsors love that too. They would tell me all the time, oh, thank God we don't have to drag 50, apparatus here and stock pack bottles or whatever, equipment and all. It's just because they are a part of that family. Those sponsors are really a part. They've been with us forever. I mean, a lot of them have been around forever, and you trust them. I can remember one in particular when they wanted to bid on the apparatus I was buying, and I told them, I said, I'm not going to bid. I'm not going to take your bid, and I explained why. they understood. We understood we're going to go separate ways on this, but if I didn't have that kind of relationship, I would never have that conversation. So, it just makes it such an open, honest kind of human interaction that I think is just so special. And how we grow that and get bigger and all, I don't know, but that's one thing I hope we never lose.
Thank you, Russ. Otto, what is your vision for the future Metro?
Russ talked about the relationships, and really that's something that is, certainly the hallmark of the Metro. And really, when I think about the future of the Metro, we just have to look back just a couple of years to our Memphis conference, where the Metro hadn't had a conference in 2 years because of COVID. And when we got back together, we had an influx of new Metro chiefs that'll be with us for a long time. Some of our more tenured chiefs that had been there, and certainly our senior chiefs. And I view that as a seminal moment for the Metro, because we had some very frank discussions around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And really, when I look at the Metro and the discussions that were had that day, I think we're a better Metro today for having had those discussions than if we would have gone about our business and just kind of kept those things internal to us. So that really precipitated the discussion about our vision for the Metro. And really, if you look at our vision statement for the Metro, it says a place to belong, inspiring success. And really, that kind of encapsulates what we've been talking about over the last hour. And I believe it captures what Russ was saying about those relationships. It definitely is a place to belong. If you look at the Metro, we're probably the most diverse fire service organization of anyone that you could think of. The number of women in the fire service pales in comparison to the percentage of Metro women fire chiefs that we have at the Metro. We have people from all walks of life, and really we're inspiring the Metro as a place to belong. And I truly believe that we're living that out through our values and through our focus. So to me, when I see the future, it's really taking those parts of our past that have gotten us here and making sure that we hold those close and being welcoming to new entrants, new thought processes that are going to give us the ability to continue to meet those challenges that were set out as the reason that we gathered as a Metro. So we're going to take the past and our history and hold on to it, and we're going to build our future based on the time, the talent, the commitment of our new chiefs that is as great as any of those icons that came before us. And I truly believe that when new chiefs walk into that room, those chiefs that have been there only for a few years now, they're going to look at them and they're going to say, I'm in a room full of these fire service icons, just like each one of us did at our first Metro. And that's how we continue to build, grow, and make the Metro relevant within our fire service.
Got me all pumped up. I'm ready to go tackle somebody outside. So hopefully HR won't contact me. Gentlemen, Otto, Russ, thank you for your time, for the information, more importantly, for your conversation and your fellowship. It's exciting, I think, for our members to be able to hear about this organization, the technical pieces of it, but also the human-centered relationship pieces of it. And I'm very grateful to have both of you here, and also to hear your vision about what the Metro should be and what we don't ever want it to get to. So do you all have any closing comments that you'd like to share before we get you both out of here and move along?
Well, before Russ goes, just let me say one thing. To me, I want to, certainly thank Russ for everything that he's done to build the Metro to where it was. And really, he handed me a jewel that I'm just trying to uphold the standard that he created. And I think we have the people in the Metro to do that over the long term.
Well, that's very kind of you, Otto. I certainly appreciate it. I wanted to just say something Otto mentioned earlier, just in closing. I'd just like to mention, he mentioned the research and the importance, the involvement that we are today in research. And he mentioned Dr. Lori Moore Merrill, who's currently the U.S. Fire Administrator, of course. And I would say, and I think both of you guys can relate to this, because as being chiefs and being in other positions, when I was in Memphis, in fact, when I was stepping down and Otto was taking over, and I got a lot of accolades and a lot of and the truth is, I probably wasn't responsible for 2 or 3% of them. It's somebody else always doing the work. You know, you get the credit, but it's just like in the fire department. Somebody else has to really do the work, and that's the way what it is with the Metro as well. But the one thing I said, and I would say again, is I will take credit for doing one thing in the Metro when I was the Executive Secretary, and that was bringing Lori Moore Merrill into the inner circle of the Metro, because I brought her in, and I want to tell you, it was just reward after reward after reward. I'd never worked with anybody smarter or who worked harder than her. She was fantastic. She's a very important person in the Metro and the fire service and beyond. But I will say that I said I will gladly take credit for that, because almost everything else you gave me an award for, I didn't really do much of it. You know, I played a tiny little role in that. But that's all I had to say. But I do want to tell you too, Chief, thank you for involving me. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity. And it's always great to see my good friend Otto again.
We're grateful to have you. So thank you. And it was amazing to spend time with both of you. And thank you to those who took the time to listen to this Metro Chiefs Leadership Development Podcast, created by Metro Chiefs for Metro Chiefs. If you enjoyed this session, please share it with others. Also, if you have ideas for topics that we should cover, please send us an email and we'll get after it. So until next time, please continue to live out the Metro vision for being a place to belong, inspiring success. Take care of yourselves and each other.